So I'm Lisa Parrish, and this is Shane Parrish. We're with Team PMP, and we are actually the producers of the McSAM Awards for you. We also run the judging on behalf of the association, so you have third-party outreach at arm's length. We are responsible for bringing the judges in from outside of the area who are industry professionals such as yourselves who come in, your peers, and review the entries. Normally, the judges are selected because of their expertise, not only in their market, and in the industry, but also because they're an entrant and a winner within their own home market. So they've been on the other side of the table. They've had to put together entries, write marketing statements, and go through the same process so that they have that sensibility of what it's like to be an entrant. So we are very careful with those folks we select to make sure that they're objective, knowledgeable, and ready, willing, and dedicated to the process. So that is one of our main goals, is to make sure we have a nice credible and wonderful judging for you. This year's McSAM theme is Mad for McSAM, and it is a takeoff on the Mad Men TV show, the Roaring 50s. I hope you all come dressed in fun outfits for the event. We're planning to have a wonderful gala on April the 14th at the Westin Galleria. So definitely mark your calendars for that. I think it's going to be another wonderful sold-out show. So that's the other note to make sure is if you're going to be attending, make sure you secure your sponsorship and your tickets early, because I know last year we sold out and there were people that actually didn't make it in. So we don't want that to happen to you folks this year. So we're going to touch on the process for submitting an entry. We're going to talk about tips and strategies and entry preparation today. And we're also going to talk about what grabs a judge's attention, because that's just it. When you're talking about in a category that has anywhere between 5 or 25 entries, you want to be able to stand out for that judge and what really will make an entry successful in their mind. I will tell you, because of the way the market is at this point, because it's a robust market, especially, good morning, for how rapid sales pace is, it's definitely you're going to want to talk about results. Results will definitely be those ways to stand out in any entry that you're submitting. So I've provided for you today a PDF of some sample entries that we will also have as a download on the website. This is just great ideas on how to write a marketing statement, imagery, things to talk about, and gives you kind of a reference back to types of entries and marketing statements as well. We do want to talk about the entry eligibility period. The entries are covering for the calendar year of 2017. Any project, community, person, or supplier who had work between January 1st and December 31st of 2017. Now, that being said, if you have a community that opens up between now and the deadline, which I believe is March 9th, you can submit. So for instance, if you have a new model opening in the month of February, you can submit it. You definitely just want to make sure you qualify the fact that this is a recent opening. This is why our sales are at this pace, because we're just open. That's why it'll be a little different than someone who's been open for a year. The categories and entry fees are $125 per entry for the categories of categories 1 through 59, which we consider the marketing categories. The People's Choice Community and Builder of the Year entries are $500 per entry, and those are due by March 1st. So if you're going for Community People's Choice, please make sure that you have that deadline. That's a little earlier, and that's because it's run a little separately. And Sales Achievement categories, those are for Sales Volume Awards, which are non-judged. Those are due, those are $75 per entry. Our entry deadline is March 9th, but we will be judging the 21st through the 23rd. The reason I give you those dates is so that you can, one, mark down that the 21st is the day we do all of the work here in the room. We review everything online, all of the digital entries. The 22nd is the day that we're out in the field visiting the Community of the Year candidates in person. And on the 23rd, if you're submitting for a Professional Achievement Award, those are the days that that's the day we have scheduled for in-person interviews. Good morning. So just make sure if you're going to be submitting someone who's going to be up for a candidate for professional achievement, that they know that March 23rd date. We will be able to handle in-person interviews, Skype or FaceTime interviews, and or telephone calls. And the reason I bring that up is because of how robust the market is, sometimes people can't drive in that day. They're writing a contract or they're doing something. we'll do a telephone call. Or for some reason, if they're going to be traveling during that time, because I know it's getting close to that spring break time, can actually do it as well if they're out of town. So don't not enter someone just because of that fact. Sorry? Oh, and yes, this year we've actually received, in the last couple competitions that we've done, we've had someone actually film a video on their iPhone. It's you have a 5-minute interview with the judges. We give them the parameters and the 3 questions that we ask, which are, what is your biggest accomplishment? What was your biggest obstacle? And what are you the most proud of? And they answer those 3 questions and send us the video, and we play it for the judges. And I will tell you, it's actually been rather successful. We actually had the National Sales and Marketing Award, Sales Professional of the Year. He actually won from his video. So in-person's always the best case scenario, but yeah, at the same time, if that's not available, there's always a fallback. So it sounds as though we have about a 50-50 of those folks who have done the entry process before and some that have not. So I'm going to go through it kind of rapidly, just how you go through submitting an entry. So the first thing I would like to say is the best case scenario is to review the call for entries and look for opportunities. What categories you're interested in submitting for, what you think you're going to be planning for. You definitely want to look for things that you have brought into the market within the last year, and what you've brought online, what you're most proud of, because that's just it. The McSAM Awards or any awards program is a way to market your community, your people, and or your service. And so it's a marketing opportunity as well as recognition. And so if you have a new product line that you've launched, or if you have a salesperson who's just done incredible this year, hit it out of the park with incredible sales or obstacles, those are the type of things you want to address. Once you definitely have that list of entries, that's when you're going to want to go into the entry application and look for those, fill out the application and pay your fees. The reason that we do that early is it's a 2-step process. So the online entry application, which I'm going to show you here in a second, is very simple. Basically, what you're doing is you're stating to the into the system is the category you're submitting for and your information and paying your fees. What that's going to do is it's going to go up into our database and it's going to assign all of your entries an entry serial number. This is a blind judging. The judges will never know you as the name of your community, the name of your person, or the name of your project. They know you as a 4-digit serial number, so that it's all blind. And so you want to get those entry numbers early so that then you can begin assembling your entry materials along the way. So I'm going to jump out here off my PowerPoint and go into the system just so you can see how easy it works. So this is the Dallas DBA's website, and we're on the McSAM page. You're going to go into the Enter tab, and you'll see right here, you can see where last year's video is already there. We'll replace it with this year's video. And you can click on the online entry application. It will launch into our online entry form. And what you'll find is a drag down selection of all the categories that you can choose from, okay? And so you're gonna choose your entries and you'll select it. Where it says project name, if you're submitting for a salesperson, that's where you're gonna put that candidate's name, okay? So if you're entering Chris Hartley, you put Chris Hartley, and then under location, you're gonna put wherever, if you're selling, it's actually you do the home office of the builder, okay? So don't do the location of the project that they're selling at. If you're submitting for a community or a model, that's where you would put the name of the model. Or if you're submitting for a community or for an ad, you would name the ad or however you would like that entry to be recognized, okay? Location, again, could be the home office or the actual location of the community. Here is the most important thing. If you're gonna be submitting multiple entries, you can click on the Add Another Project, and it'll give you another entry so that you can do this as one transaction. I will say that's nice because when you're turning in your reports or getting all your information, usually that financial person or the accounting office is like, could you have done it as one transaction rather than 23? So that's a nice way. The only Achilles heel to this is if you add one too many, you have to start all over. So be very careful when you're putting your entries in to add and not add one too many. Kelly, you've done that before, and I know you said it's super frustrating. So that's why I make a big deal about this. Make sure you have a list. Make sure you're checking them off because it never fails. And I've even actually done it for entrants on their behalf. And I've even done it where it's like, oh man, I've added one too many. So it will auto-calculate the entry fees for you. Again, you can drag down and choose the entries that you want, and then it will populate that. You just fill out the information, the entrant company name, your email, the contact name, and so forth. On the billing information, if you're using a credit card, the system is tied into authorize.net for the DBA. You do need to put in, for the billing information, the exact information of the card holder so that it matches, including their billing address. Otherwise, it will not accept the credit card. Okay, so if it comes back and it says decline, it's probably because that address is not matching. So just have that, because again, it's a frustration factor. We want to make sure that we don't have that hit you. If you want to pay by check, you can choose check, and then the DBA will invoice you for your entry fees. Once you click submit, you will get an email back from the system that will give you your entry serial numbers. It will tell you the naming sequence for your entry materials, and also give you a link to download the forms that you need to complete your entry application. If at any time you have any questions or any problems with that, feel free to give us a phone call and we'll take care of it for you. If for some reason you enter an entry and you're like, oh, we were going to enter for best brochure, but we decided we're not going to do that, we're going to switch that out for billboard, just call us. We'll make the change for you on the other end. You can always replace an entry. Canceling an entry is a little bit more difficult. You'd have to talk to Misty about that. I don't know that we're going to have entry cancellations this year. So it will then give you the information with the entry information, and it comes immediately. So for instance, if you decide, you know what, it's 10 o'clock on Friday night, and I'm going to do my McSAM entries, you can absolutely do them. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you're not waiting for someone to automatically generate it for you. So when you're assembling your entry materials, what we like to say is create a folder with folders inside of it. And the reason for that is you're going to submit those entries via those numbers that you're going to receive. And this basically gives you an example of how to assemble those materials. On the left, you'll see those are the folders for every one of my entries. And on the right, you'll see that is actually how the materials are assembled in the folder. The naming is very important. Here's why. Everything, again, is named by those entry numbers that are generated by the system. Even for us, we're dealing with, let's say you're dealing with 15, 20 entries. We're dealing with 600 on our end, and they're all numbers. So you have to be very careful and very specific, because if one gets lost, it's almost like losing a grain of sand. And we're very careful on our end to double check and make sure that we have everyone's entry checked in. We make sure that everything is there. If for some reason we receive an entry and it's missing images 3, 4, and 6, we will call and say, hi, listen, we got your entry. Images 3, 4, and 6 don't seem to be in the entry for 38, 39, 83. Could you resend those? Because we want to make sure on our end that we're taking care of you as an entrant. So never fear that we will contact you if we think that there is something missing. When you're submitting your materials, after you've gathered everything, the way that we receive them is you're going to send them to us via Dropbox, Hightail, FTP, whatever file sharing service that you feel the most comfortable with. What we ask you to do is email that link to download those entries as one, if you have more than one entry, in a folder, a single folder with all of your materials. The reason I say that is some folks will have like 15 entries and they'll send me one entry at a time. It's much easier if we get them in one nice package. We check them all in, and then we'll know that they're all there. We don't send a confirmation saying, hi, we have your entries. We will confirm that we received the email, but note that we will always call if we are missing anything. If you don't get a call, you're checked in, everything's good to go. Okay? Approximately, let's see if we get this in. Approximately a week before the judging, the sales professionals will receive an email that says, congratulations, you've been nominated. Your interview has been scheduled for this day at this time. Here's a copy of your entry submittal that's been submitted on your behalf, your nomination package, and this is when we need to see you. The one thing I always like to tell people is you have to understand, because we have so many professional achievement entries, they're scheduled to meet with the judges who work in teams. There are 3 teams of 2 people who work all day from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, meeting with each one of the professionals, that we schedule them so that they're in blocks. So all the sales rookies are together, all the options professionals are together, all the community superintendents together, so that when the judges are meeting with them, when they conclude a group, they can actually then collaborate and come up with a winner. So we don't let the entrants pick and choose when they can come in. It's assigned. So that's why I was saying about if for some reason someone has a doctor's appointment or someone else and they can't be there at that exact time, we'll do our very best to accommodate them, but that is the time that we have allotted for them. So here are some tips on how to prepare a great entry. Start early. Entry preparation is really good. Do you have a question? Yes.
Sorry, I have a question on photography. Still images versus video.
Currently, we are in a still image at this point. You can submit a video. It's not necessarily a general practice that we'll be able to view them all at this point. That is something that's possibly coming within the next year. Exactly. So we're looking into that. If you want to include it, depending on the entry that you're submitting, special promotions, let's see what else, grand openings, things like that nature where there is video content, you absolutely can submit it. Right now, we're just not taking them for architecture categories or sales offices. Great question, though. Oh, yeah, still drone shots will work. Yeah. You have up to 8 images per your entry to use and to showcase the entry, whatever it may be. If you don't have 8, you will not be disqualified. That's just the max number you have available to you. And if you have more than 8, we're going to show you a sample later where people use composite slides where they put more than one image on a slide or an image space so that you can show detail. In your statements, whenever you're submitting your entry, you're going to want to know that you're speaking to someone in the industry. Know your audience. Speak concise, make your point, and definitely bullet points are encouraged. I actually included one of the entry samples is an interior merchandising entry where they use bullet points, and it was really well done. So that's one of the samples that you're going to have. In your professional achievement entries, the way that we do the professional achievements is the nomination package is basically an introduction letter to the judges. It's, hi, this is Sally. Sally sells at the Vineyards. The product line sells between $200,000 and $400,000. It's a millennial buyer. She has high volume. She's normally selling 3 to 5 a week, and she's incredible because she has great follow-through, and she's selling 14 plants. Here were her obstacles, here were challenges, and that's basically it. It's a very concise statement that gives information because what's going to happen is that's the introduction to the judge. Now, when Sally walks in the door, now the judges have that 10 minutes to have that conversation with Sally to learn more about her from herself and her own words. So in those introduction nominations, give a lot of detail, if you can, of what that person did for the year and why it was outstanding. I also always like to say, make sure that you give them information that is above and beyond what their job is. If you go into, so Sally opens the model every day, she turns on the lights, and she fluffs the pillows, and she greets and meets folks who are walking out the door. Yeah, that's her job. That's not something that wins an award. That's why she gets a paycheck. So give the judge, qualify why she's doing something extraordinary. Yeah, sorry? Oh, and also, that's the other thing. We'll send them what you've sent in, but you might want to send it to them prior to sending it in because they might want to elaborate or they might want to remove something. It's always good to collaborate with that person so that they understand what's been said about them. What the judges look for in an entry. This is a sample of what an entry looks like on screen for the judges. This is what we call our overview image. These are thumbnails of an architecture category. Each one of these thumbnails grows up to a full screen. I'm going to show you an actual entry that's going to play. I'm hoping it's going to be loud enough so you guys can hear it. Shane, can you use this to turn this up? It might play. Let's see if it goes. Okay, so let's take a look at entry 4304, located in Lone Tree. This home is targeted towards young professionals and families with a base price of $669,000. Square footage is 5,686 square feet. Beautiful inside and out. The attention to detail in this house is unparalleled. From carefully selected materials and color on the exterior to a well thought out livable floor plan inside, this house has it all.
The open rail stair wows upon entry, but once around the corner, the glassed and steadies tucked below the stairs steals the show. The light and bright great room, designed to capture the beautiful views with expansive windows, opens to an infinity kitchen, which perfectly conceals a butler's pantry. An extra-large island, perfect for entertaining or casual meals, anchors the kitchen and provides extra counter space. The master suite screams luxury with its private covered balcony, fireplace, oversized walk-in closet, and a spa bath. Upstairs, a multifunctional loft is a perfect place for crafts or homework. All outdoor spaces in this home are oriented towards the stunning mountain views because that's exactly why we live here in Colorado. Let's have a discussion now on this plan, judges, and our thoughts.
So here's what I wanted to remark on this entry. That is literally how long the entry is viewed by a judge. It's actual time. And as soon as we finish it, the judges are then looking at the floor plan and they're going to have a discussion. They're going to talk about it. So it kind of gives you a sense. Here's the notes of why this entry was the reason I used it as a sample. One, the statement literally walks you through the home. They're addressing the image that they wrote the statement to the image that you're seeing. Two main flaws in that entry. One, they mentioned things you cannot see. They mentioned a spa-like master bath, which they don't show, and they mentioned the covered patio off the master bedroom, which they did not option on that model. So it was a disconnect for the judges. They're like, wait a minute, there's no covered balcony off the master. So make sure that you don't confuse the judge, that you highlight the positives, but then also don't frustrate them by saying, well, you can see the spa-like master bath. You can mention the spa-like master bath, but you might want to say, unfortunately, we're not showing it, but there's a spa-like master bath. But what it does is it highlights and it carries them through just as though you were there in person walking through the plan together, showing off the plan. So it's as though we're taking them on a tour because we can't be there together. So that is the one we wanted to show you. For professional achievement, again, as we said, those are where you're going to want to look for opportunities. In McSAM, we have sales professionals under $275,000 up to over $600,000, I believe. So there's a price range for everything. We have superintendents. We have other opportunities, I believe, as sales managers, marketing professionals. So there is a professional in each one of your companies who should be submitted into one of these categories because that's just it. Somebody's responsible for one of those jobs, and they should be highlighted if they're doing a great job. Look for those opportunities, make sure that you submit them, and give them the best effort. In some cases, that is the next great step to making somebody just go to the next level. So those are a great opportunity, especially for suppliers. You have a marketing manager. It's not necessarily an apples-to-apples fit because you're going to be up against a marketing professional for a builder. But what will happen is, in most cases, if we have an entry come in where it's not the normal, an entry category can be created in that way. So if we have enough entries that come in for, let's say, best marketing professional for an associate, we'll create a category in order to recognize them. So don't look as though they're not there. Also for the associates, if you have an ad or a marketing program that you've done or a launch, those are also opportunities to submit. Website, social media, digital marketing, any of those efforts can be submitted. Those are opportunities as well. And in most cases, it's a really good place to showcase your work because you'll get in front of folks who may not have seen it or received that information. And we had at the Nationals this year, we had a company who did their Christmas gift. It was a thank you gift that they packaged up and they sent out to all their clients. It was so well done. It literally won Best Marketing Promotion by an Associate. So you never know. It doesn't have to be the most expensive or most elaborate. Sometimes thoughtful and results are the winning ticket. So if you have something that's different and unique, these are perfect ways to receive recognition from. This was what seemed to be a really nice little billboard in Charlotte, North Carolina for a lovely little master plan community. But this master plan community was targeted towards a family buyer. It was a little further out, but it was in a good school district. And they were going after a family buyer. So they decided to put this interactive sales or display in a local mall. And normally you'd be like, oh, okay, that's really nice. But here's what they added. It was live. So when you walked by it, it came alive. And it was such a hit with their buyers and their buyer profile. And they had 3 of them. I only showed you the one video. They had 3 different ones and they changed. They were a progression. They had such response, they actually sold 20 houses off of those simple displays. So again, it seems like something unique or something simple, but it turned out to be really responsive.
That's where video comes into play. They submitted still for that as well, but then they put the video in so that we can.
Yeah. For design centers, and I will tell you right now, pay for the best photography you can possibly get. And it's not just for your awards. Awards are like the least of why you pay for photography. Photography is for your marketing. It is for your ads, it is for your brochures, it is for your website, it is for your social media, it is for all the other elements. And if you're not posting on your Instagram, your Pinterest, all of your different social media outlets, photography of your product, you're missing out. That is a huge response rate for any builder. And we've learned that over many IBS programs that we saw this year and digital outreach. So photography pays for itself, I will tell you that right now, especially when you have a relocation buyer who is looking to see. And good photography will set you apart from your competitors. Design centers. If you're submitting for your design center this year, I will tell you that design centers, they are beautiful, but they also have to be responsive. When we're looking at the design center, we're not looking just for how it was designed and how it looks, but it also has to talk to us about how it functions. Tell us how many appointments are set per day. Tell us the price range that it is covering. If it has price ranges for communities selling from $200,000 to $1.2 million, that's a pretty broad range, so you're seeing a different buyer. Tell us about how many designers are in that design center and how often and how many appointments they're setting. And then give us the rate of the range of what they're upselling per product line. If they're upselling anywhere between 20-30% on each product, that adds to that builder's bottom line, and that's what we're really looking for, is how well they're functioning. Outdoor living space. We have outdoor living almost in every awards program across the country now. Outdoor living, originally when it first came online, everybody thought it was best backyard. It is not best backyard. It is how the outdoor living relates to the floor plan. So you're going to want to show the floor plan and how that space engages the interior and exterior outdoor living space, and explain how you've amenitized it and how it's added value to that home and that floor plan. Interiors. The reason I show this image is we are in the years of the 50 shades of gray. Everybody's model is gray, and well, gray is a beautiful color, and it can do many things. It is very difficult to photograph sometimes. So you want to make sure that you're elaborating on it, you're lighting it correctly, and you're explaining it, because when the judges are looking at it, I will tell you, because the lights are up right now, can you dim those lights? It will look completely different when we turn these lights down. So much better it looks now. So in those gray shots, be selective. Make sure that you're talking about it, because it will change for you. Floor plans. When you're submitting floor plans for interior merchandising, sales office, or architecture, there are 2 ways of doing floor plans. There's the elaborate one on the left, which has call-outs and floor plan, furniture and lot lines, and the whole, it's shaded and colored. That's great. If you don't have that, if you simply have a really nice, clean floor plan from your brochure, that is equally as acceptable. The judges are really looking at it to get a form of reference of the space. So don't feel as though you can't submit unless you have a beautiful colored floor plan. It's not necessary. However, if you have it, it helps. If you have a multi-level home, first, second, third floor, first, second basement, the entry requirements ask you to submit it as a PDF or a JPEG. The challenge is the judges receive this. We're an all digital judging. The judges do not receive any paper handouts anymore. They do everything on their laptops. So they're actually reviewing those floor plans as we're going along. If you can put your floor plans, if they're multiple pages, in one scrollable PDF, it's much easier for the judge to manage that. I always like to say, a page per floor is really good because then they can get it nice and large so they can make it readable. If you try to put all 3 floors on one single page, it condenses it down. It's much more difficult to read. So it's okay to have them be scrollable unless you can get them to a size that you can read them. If you can't read it without your glasses on, that means they're too small. So that's kind of got to be your key to that one. For Community of the Year, if you're going for Community of the Year, there are multiples. You have to submit, I believe, 4 entries in the marketing categories to qualify to be eligible for Community of the Year. Make sure you choose where you believe the strengths of your community lie. I believe that you do have to submit interiors and architecture product lines to be eligible, as well as a multitude of others. Some folks go for branding. Some folks say, nope, our website's the killer. Some folks say, nope, it's our social media, or it was our special promotion, it was our grand opening. So definitely look for those highlights. What you're doing when you're going for Community of the Year is you're those qualifying categories, you're building a case towards us going to visit it on the second day. It is the way the judges get familiar with your community before we visit. So again, you want to choose those things that are your strong points so that when we get there, like, oh yeah, of course, we saw this yesterday. I can't wait to visit. Rather than when we get there and you're like, okay, yeah, so, we saw a few things, but I wasn't really that impressed. Again, be selective. Put together why it's how you got people out to your community, why it's selling so well, what the popular aspects of it are. And within this market, because you are such a high volume market, and have so many sales going on, talk about the differentiators. Again, these judges are from outside of the area, so qualify it. The reason why someone wants to live in Plano is this. The reason why someone will drive to Rowlett is this. Why do people live in Frisco? Because it's, give them qualifications of the proximity and why. It helps. These are just some of the samples that we had in the entry package that I've provided for you as the sample package. This is for logo and graphic continuity. The reason I showed this is there's a difference between best logo and best graphic continuity. Logo is just that. It's the two top images, the logo in black and white and the logo in color. And it's branding. It's naming and branding. And that's really what they're looking at. The other images that are allowed in the entry are to show how that logo is used in the different formats, but really what they're looking at in best logo design is literally just that icon and the name and the colors and the fonts. When you're talking about it, you're going to want to talk about why you named it, what you named it, what the target market was, and what your strategy was and your objective. In the marketing statement for this example, they talk about their strategy. They talk about the fact that it was a millennial, it was where it was located, why it was named, and their success. So that helps to explain. Numbering is important, and I've noticed it here. I've pointed it out. Then the sequence that you put your images in are exactly the sequence that you see on screen. 1, 2, 3, 4 is across the top, left to right. 5, 6, 7, 8, left to right on the bottom. The reason we bring you that is that it helps when you're kind of walking through, and also when you're writing that marketing statement, to talk about those in that sequence. Our next entry is graphic continuity. Interesting thing on this entry, they chose to submit one image, and they ganged all their material onto one image. It was a really interesting strategy on how to put that image together that way. Because what they were showing is, they showed their signage, their brochure, their ad, their website, their mobile e-blast, all on the single image. And then they gave us their strategy in the marketing statement. When it first popped up, we were like, wow, that's really kind of incredible that they decided to not put them all on separate images. But what the judges responded to was, wow, for graphic continuity, it really holds together. And they showcased how it actually views in real life. So that was, it was a strategy that ended up paying off for it. Digital marketing. If you're submitting for digital marketing is one of those categories that's very difficult for a judge to qualify. We'll have questions like, well, what are we judging here? How pretty it is, how it was assembled, where it went, and it's all of those elements. But the biggest thing is results. So in this case, this entry, they're showing us their outbound newsletters,
They're showing us in their second image their banner ads and how those worked and how they transitioned. They showed us their e-blasts, and then I believe they showed us some push notifications in rich media. It was really nice that they ganged them and they showed us how they look on the iPads and how responsive they were. But in the marketing statement, what you'll see is they give us their strategy. That was the top half of their statement, but the bottom half was their results. It told us how many email sessions they had, how many push notifications, and so forth. Really, that's exactly what it is. You can send it out, but if it's not responding and you're not getting anything, it's really falling flat. So results matter, definitely, in social media, digital marketing, and websites. Again, in social media, digital marketing, and websites, I will tell you that it helps to be able to see these elements as it appears on a tablet, a screen, or a phone. If it's not mobily optimized, it's not right. And that's the first thing they're going to want to pull it. Most of the judges we now send that website out 1 week ahead of time to the judging panel. They go through the websites themselves at their own speed, at their own time, in their offices, or even on their mobile devices. Most of them are doing them on iPads and phones now because they want to see as if they were a consumer driving product to see that it works. So make sure that you're mobily optimized, make sure everything's working, because that's a ding. They will look at that first thing. Explain the why and where you did what you did and how you organized it. That's another huge opportunity. Social media, what you want to talk about in social media, sorry, I'll go back, is the strategy and why you put things where you put, the engagements, and how successful it is. In overall advertising campaign, associates, you guys, this is definitely a category you might want to consider. If you're doing launches or marketing campaigns, submit here and show us how you are doing outreach, whether it be print advertising, website, social media, radio, billboards, anything that you have. Put it together and in a scenario that explains why you did what you did based on the media and how it was deployed. The other thing you might want to explain in any one of these is the amount of time that it ran, especially for special promotions and or overall. This ran for a 4-week period. This ran for a 6-week period. In that period, we received this many more visits to our traffic to our community. We received this many sales. It qualifies it because it's not just how pretty it was, it's really how well the community responded to it. Okay? And again, in this sample, you're going to see a challenge, a solution, and then results. And that's why we chose to give this to you as a great marketing statement example. For Sales Center, this one I chose. One, they only used 6 images, and on their 7th image, they actually included their floor plan as their 7th image, which was brilliant because not only did the judge have it in their package, but it was already up on screen for them as well. This was a small sales office located in a transit-oriented area in Maryland. And they wanted to explain why it was so small and why it was a millennial buyer. And this was all about proximity and how to get there. They made 2 fatal mistakes in their statement. The statement is read to you as we saw earlier. In the statement, it specifically says, do not mention the name of the project, the location, the project, builder name, and or associate name in the statement, because it's a blind judging. You can see it in the photography, but we're not supposed to say it out loud, so we're trying to keep everybody, fair. They literally said, challenged by our parent company, TriPoint Group, Glenmont's Metro Center in Glenmont Center, they literally, so the reason I bring this up is refer to it as the community or the neighborhood, the builder, the design team, so that we don't have to skip over that. Because that's what will literally happen is we'll just literally cross those elements out to keep it as fair and as objective as possible. Also, you'll note, this statement is not in bullet points. It's a very long run-on paragraph. And they used, we have up to 200 words. I will tell you, 200 words, you think it's not a lot, but when you read it out loud to yourself, there's a lot of information can be said in that. It's not how many words you have, it's making those words count. So when you write your marketing statement to those images, have somebody come in, sit down with them, show them the images and read the statement to them just as though we had just done the entry, and have them critique it for you. Because what will happen is they'll go, oh, you don't need to say that, but you might want to mention this instead. And it's good to have that feedback, because as you're going through this, you normally kind of get into a zone.
And who the audience of the statement is.
Oh yeah, and the audience of the statement, because they're peers. They're just like us. It'd be just like you're reading to someone, a colleague in your office. So it's a very helpful. We actually have one entrant who, after they do all of their entries, they call it the war room. And the day before they're going to submit all their entries, they get everybody in the conference room at lunch. They sit down and they go through all of their entries and read all of the marketing statements together. And everyone in that department literally critiques every entry, and they make one last batch of changes before they submit. Everyone feels completely engaged with the entries. They're all excited about it, and they can't wait to find out how they do and how they final when the finals come back out, and then they're all cheering for it. So it's a really great way to engage the entire company. This is an interior design category entry. The reason I show this is a great example of small. This project, this home is only 1,200 square feet. They couldn't get 8 images. There weren't 8 images to get. It's very tiny. It's for a single female buyer. They did a heck of a great job. But the other thing is, this is the one where we have the bullet point statement where they address their challenges and what they're trying to do. This home had to be done with builder grade spec, builder paint. It had to be, I mean, it was an incredible challenge, but they did a kick butt job on it. So it's one of those ones where you see where they made the most of what they had, but it was a winner. This literally just won at the nationals. It won it locally and it won at nationals because of just that. They explained their challenge and how they overcame it and how successful it was. It resonated with their buyer.
Great example of rollover.
And a great example of a rollover. Thank you, Shane. So McSAM is absolutely tied to the National Sales and Marketing Awards. Once you submit into the McSAM Awards, your entries are held for you. We then notify you in the fall when the Nationals comes back around, and you can actually say, yes, I'd like to take my entry to the Nationals. You do not have to resubmit the materials at all. You just pay the entry fee and it goes on it to the Nationals for you. And I will tell you, this year at the Nationals, we had a 40% rate of rollovers who actually then went on to either final or win the category. So continuing that on is a great testament. It really does work.
And one category here that we thought we'd get more rollover from that we didn't was the lifestyle lifestyle program, because this market is where that category came from, because you guys have such amazing ones here. So most definitely one to think about for next year if you enter lifestyle.
Just to reiterate what Shane's saying, the originator of the category for lifestyle director and lifestyle program was here at McSAM. It's a fantastic category. Some of the greatest work in the country is right here. Last year, the judges were astounded by the complexity and the professionals who are doing the work here. I believe there were like 9 entries last year, and it was possibly the most competitive category in the entire awards program, those 2 categories. And the amount of effort that goes into it was astounding. All of those ladies could have gone on to win at the Nationals. Unfortunately, not one of them rolled over to the Nationals this year, which was such a bummer, and they would have done so well. So yeah, don't forget to do that for next year. This is an entry for, a larger entry for interiors. The reason I showed this, again, they chose their 7 images, but their 8th image, they used their floor plan, which is a pretty nice strategy. It filled the space. It also showcased it. You'll also notice in this image, you'll see that they used vertical images. Don't be afraid to have vertical and horizontal images. They both show. But if you have that volume you want to use, that's completely okay. It still works. It's just how it fills the space. And then here's the entry that I was speaking about using what I call a composite or the multi-image look. They wanted to define some different spaces, and then they wanted to do call-outs on options on this home. So what they did is they decided that they were going to show the image of the outdoor living space with the kitchen island and showcase how that related to the floor plan. And then the master bedroom and how it had an outdoor option as well with I believe it was an optional living space as well. The reason I show this is people always ask, I have 12 great images, what do I do? I only have 8. Okay, well, you have the option of doing this. However, I caution you, because when you put the images on one image, the images get smaller, and it's harder for them to be seen. So you need to make sure this is a compelling case of why this is going to differentiate that plan or that entry. So use them wisely. I don't know that I would have put the floor plan on the image as well. I think that shrunk the image is too small, but it's a tactic. It is a way to stand out. So I'm going to open it up for some questions. I know that there's probably things that I didn't cover that you might want to talk about, so any questions?
Project, what if you're submitting an architectural project and the project is semi-complete?
Mhm.
Is that what they've done here? Is this an artist rendering or?
No, those are all actual photography. But okay, so you're not complete. Is it? So for McSAM, you have to be open for sale or for rent anytime between the periods. So as long as it's open,
Okay.
and you're selling. So for instance, you'd be selling the plan, but you might not have the spec home completed, right?
Right.
Okay. You can photograph it without furniture in it,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as you're selling, you can. What I would do is definitely talk about that in your statement, the fact that you're selling this plan, this is a spec, we want to give you some idea of the spatial areas of it, but definitely explain to them it's not a production model home,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to be a differentiator. I mean, it's not going to look like a builder's model that's been sitting there. It's going to look a little differently.
And you can use rendering.
You can use a rendering for the front exterior if you do not have one, but explicitly explain to them why you did that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been done before and done very well. It just needs. I always like to qualify people. They're used to seeing production housing with actual photography of a standing piece.
Mm-hmm.
If they're getting something that's different, you need to qualify and say this is a spec or this is why this is like this, so that they readjust their brains before they start reviewing the entry.
Because the immediate thought is, oh, they took the easy way out, rather than, well, we just didn't have something to photograph. So explaining that helps the entry.
Exactly. Yeah, don't, there's always a place for any entry. It's just a matter of figuring out where it is. Yes?
Sorry, first time, so just want to be clear on verbiage. Interior merchandising, same staging?
Staging can be submitted in the interior merchandising entries, yes.
What is interior merchandising? Can you define
The
that?
definition of staging versus merchandising, as we've interpreted, is as follows. Merchandising is when a design is customized for that model. It includes paint, wallpaper, furnishings that are custom ordered for that home that are determined for that, and will live in that home for a specific period of time. Staging is usually done by a staging company and usually doesn't cover finishes and or paint and or any wall covering. So it's usually just furnishings.
The amount of furniture is usually a lot less.
Yeah.
Some rooms may not be done at all.
Right, and you definitely, if you're going to submit a staging entry into the interior category, you're going to want to qualify and say, this is a staged model. This is why they did this. They didn't stage, bedrooms 2 and 4 because they spent, more effort on the living space, so that they qualify it. Because staging and merchandising are two definitely different tactics. Staging can be done very well and has been awarded for what it's trying to do, especially for standing inventory. When you're staging a spec or staging a model or a plan that was merchandised previously. Yes.
My company did a video, and that's what we'd like to enter. Do we do still shots for that as well? I mean, will it have so many still shots and then
Sure.
a link to the video? Or
So for video, radio, social media, any one of those entries, what you're going to want to do is the images that are requested in those categories are simply a screenshot or a still shot that's going to be used on the screen during the show. They will actually judge the actual video for a video entry. You'll submit an MP3 an MP4 or a .mov file. For radio, you'll submit the actual MP3s. We sit and listen to every radio commercial. We watch every video commercial. We visit every website. The social media entries, we actually ask you to give us 8 images, kind of give us an overall, but we will stalk you online to see how well you are, to see how many Facebook likes and YouTube video views you have. So basically those images are requested are basically for the show to be shown on screen and or for the website or any other marketing materials for McSAM to represent that entry.
Okay, would like the best special event, would that work too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So special events, if you're doing a product launch or grand opening or a VIP party, those could be images of that actual event. And most of the time, special events are actual, the pictures of the event and or the marketing leading up to the event. The invitation, the outbound marketing is helpful to understand what it was, to give us a relative understanding of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You said get tickets early. I'm sure it says somewhere in here where to go. I haven't seen it.
On the Dallas Builders Association, I believe that they'll open up those the ticket page. I think it's sometime in February when she releases that. Misty will release it. There'll be an e-blast that goes out that says tickets are now available. I will tell you that if you're interested in sponsoring, sponsors get first right. They have VIP treatment, and they definitely get better seating. So if you have an interest and or wherewithal, we'd love to have you sponsor the event as well. And those come with, there's a great value to that. Sponsorships actually come with tickets, and I believe sometimes they come with entries. So some packages, if you buy the bundled pack, the sponsor, it'll have your entries already included in it, and that's a great buy. So it's a great way to go about it.
A couple entries.
Couple of entries. It's like 2 or 3 entries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all your entries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you can get some free, so that really all adds up to make it a lot more affordable.
And if you're, I will tell you, for the associate suppliers in the room, if you're looking to get in front of the builders, that's a fantastic way. Don't just enter, sponsor, attend, be part of it, be inclusive. That's what this is all about. It's all about one industry, one night. So yeah, that's a great way of getting your name out there and recognizing and be part of the community.
If you're a builder and go platinum, does that give you any edge in the judging?
No, unfortunately they don't. But you know what? There is a thing such as karma. I do believe that karma has a lot to do with it, so I'll tell you that does help. Kelly?
I will say, we get questions a lot, like, does it, from people who are entering, and the judges have no idea who is sponsoring.
That's right.
By the time, when the judges judge, sometimes not even all the sponsors are
Right.
finalized and things like that, so it's funny, but really, we get, over the years, have gotten a lot of questions about that, and I've judged with you all, like, you have absolutely no idea who the sponsors are, or if anyone in the industry is here outside of the people who have entered.
Exactly. It really is to be the most fair and impartial judging possible to give everyone the exact same chance of winning. But that being said, again, karma does play a factor in this world. I'm not going to lie to you. Good juju. If you have any questions as you're going along, if anything comes up, please feel free to pick up the phone and call us. We are here to help. If you would like another sample of something you didn't see today, especially you guys who are doing the suppliers, I have my cards with me. I'll give them to you. Email me. I'll send you lots of different entries from different categories, from different from the nationals that I'll give you guys a place to work from. Advantech, Huber Engineer Woods submits every year into the nationals. They do some fantastic packages. Norboard, I think you guys would be interested in seeing some of those entries. It's a great way to get out in front of the industry. So. I hope this helped everybody today. If you think of anything else, please let us know. We're here to help. We want to see you shine, and we want to see you on stage on April 14th, and we want to see you guys all smiling and clapping. And I love the fact that at McSAM there's cowbells, and everybody has a great time celebrating the industry. So good luck, and have a great day.